Get yourself where you're confident so that you're ready.
I can do that for you, Rick.
You want to make sure you don't have to stay
Okay, well, when I went to get my jacket, I had no problem in the golf area. I went, no, I'll take it with me.
I want to make sure there's good air.
Did you see? I'm famous. I'm in there.
No, I'm going to talk to him after. Where's my picture?
No, my picture's not in there.
Oh, yes, you're blurby, yeah.
Built into my zipper. That's just for the gaming. And then when see, I got the. This is my preview. And this is what's called the minutes, right? So I can actually go to a PowerPoint and the speaker in the corner. So when you present a PowerPoint, I can actually show it, and you can still see the speaker in the little corner. Or I just have the speaker by himself, or just a PowerPoint. I can switch that. So it's me. Hopefully things will work well. Seems to be. Well, I suppose that's Christine, by the way. Don't forget, but she copied all the presentation on my machine. If you want, I'll show you how things work. In case I gotta get over somewhere, if you don't mind.
You gotta show me a screen too.
Yeah, so yes. So right now, that's what's present. And then if you want to do a transition from your preview to your actual view, you hit the transition button. So you make a selection of what you want. For example, and then if you hit transition, that's what will show up on the screen. Yeah, that's a live feed. This is your preview. So you go to PowerPoint with speakers, so they can see the speaker. It helps to see, so you can, if you're really good at it, switch from this guy. It seems to be running pretty good, about 30%. You can use it. OneDrive, Power, in the window with the ask me if I want to do that. And we'll just have I've checked the screen, so it's working. Sound is working. Let's see if you're exit to make a change from the you're coming in by from there. Okay. Yeah, no. We do the marching. I have to switch to this because these are fixed, right? So if you go around like this, and ask if yeah, we should video that. Just it's not the greatest in the sense of there. The margin is from there.
It's coming in over here and coming around.
Okay.
This way.
I get short, so you can't go in.
Yeah. But even if we just turn it towards the door and get everyone else to come in.
Yeah, that'd be
Probably see that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It's a bit delayed. That's normal for both there.
Last night was good. Today.
Yeah, there's errors to say a few words that you're just finishing up. So Carmen's lining it up.
Thank you.
I was looking for you. You want us to
Good morning, everyone. Please take your seats.
I'm gonna go check on credentials.
Please want to rise and welcome our first timers. It's not my Just wishing all our first-timers a great weekend. Obviously, all of these people out here have been here before and are great people to you want to meet and mingle throughout the weekend. It's going to be memorable, I guarantee it, and we will see you all next year. So please take a seat. Good morning, everyone. Of course, we're going to have to start this morning with the Sarnia. So, 1, 2, 3. Welcome to convention, day 2 of convention. Yesterday was a great day of guest speakers, service in the community. I've heard great things about everybody's project out in the community, from picking up garbage. Anybody on the boat cruise last night got to see it. Was a beautiful walk along the water there. The seniors' home, I heard, was a great time. Painting, good time, and the food bank. I heard the food bank was exceptional. Some great work going on there, and it was kind of fitting having the food bank here yesterday. So just a reminder about the weekend and the fact that we're in the hotel. We only want to have this conversation one time about respect, respect for the staff, the hotel itself, keeping our drinks where we're supposed to, all that good stuff. So just a reminder, we are awesome kin, so let's make sure everybody that isn't kin here this weekend realizes and understands how awesome we really are. So. We'll call the meeting to order, and we will have District 3 lead us in O Canada.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all our sons command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
The Kin song led by District 7. Please remain standing. We'll have a moment of silence for departed kin. Please take your seats. Call on National Director Daryl Cooper for the objects of the association.
The objects of the association: to promote and direct service work through fellowship amongst its clubs and their members to the ends that members of the clubs may enjoy personal development through the association. They may be improved and educated in modern business and professional methods and ethics. The involvement of all in the enrichment of their community may be stimulated. A spirit of cooperation, tolerance, understanding, and equality among all nations and peoples be fostered, and that unity of thought and purpose throughout Canada be established towards this goal, and they shall serve their community's greatest needs.
Great. Moving on to the appointments for the weekend. Our recording secretary is National Director Leanne Christensen. Yay. Our Rules of Order Chair, Melody Lamolgu. Scrutineers and straw count voters are National Directors. We have co-chairs for the election. We have National Director Mitch Freeman and National Director Amanda Nottingale. And now I'll call up Grant. We're going to do the introductions of our governors, past governors.
Good morning, everyone. Morning. I'm going to ask the current year governors to come on up to the stage, and I'll start with District 1 and introduce the crowd to Debbie Flagg. District 2, Dave Roberts. District 3, Rob Bateman. District 4, Lisa McGraw and Rob McCann. District 5, Anita Llewellyn. District 6, David Tidbury. District 7, Vicki Andrews. And not here today is District 8's Governor Sherry Bowden, who was assigned to help with the work that goes behind the scenes of forest fires up in Ontario right now. So we're thankful that we have such skilled people helping out to get that crisis organized. So, fine, good. All right, so basically, this past year, not one of these folks weren't putting in 100% into their jobs. And I just wanted to do a quick thank you to them all right now and recognize and have you recognize their efforts as your leaders out there in the districts. Three of our districts grew this year, and I thought it would be very appropriate at this point to recognize those districts. District 2, Dave. District 3, Rob.
Watch the flag, Sydney. Watch the flag.
No one touched my challenge points to tell with that.
Oh, what?
I'm playing them. No, not her.
Did you say you don't have your challenge point on you?
Actually, I have spares. So the, you know, with the outgoing governors, we have some incoming governors, and I'm just going to have them stand up as I call out their name. In District 1, Karen Coots and Daryl Van Moorsel. In District 2, Alette Dewar and Tim Badcock. District 3, Jordan Kamer. In District 4, Kathy Volpin and Mike McMurray, sorry. District 5, Stephen Hernick. Earlier I introduced David Tidbury. This time I'm going to introduce Dave Tidbury as the incoming governor. In District 7, Richard Hubble. And in District 8, Amanda Gray. I also just want to take a quick minute to recognize the committee, our National Operations Committee members who are in attendance this weekend, and I'm thankful that they're here. From the National Education and Training Committee, Melody Lamalabu, Lee Burry, Terry Aradell, Debbie Flagg, Brian Nakoop, and J.M. Lamalabu. Thank you. And just incidentally, we haven't really made a big announcement about this, but this Terry's Iredale's last official function as chair of the NETC. And we have appointed co-chairs in Lee Burry and Melody Lamogu. So we're expecting from our National Awards and Recognition Committee, Holly Babcock's in the audience. Holly, where are you? From the National Club Support Committee, Marley Hanishewski, Doug Christensen, Lucy Bosino. I probably missed a syllable in there, I think. I'm sorry, I do that all the time. So it's trouble enough getting Lamolagu out half the time. So. And Carol Cooper. And our staff supports here this weekend is Carmen Preston at the back. I don't know how many times I've said so far this weekend, you're going to have to ask Carmen, because I know nothing. Nice. Christine Stahl, our special project. Lindsay King, our club support. And Krista Nickel, our communications coordinator. And please forgive me if I've forgotten someone. So, thank you.
Do a little bit different. We're going to do a parade of the years just to recognize some of our long-standing members that may be in the room. So I'm going to get everybody to stand up. We're just kind of going in by five. So anyone that has been in kin less than 1 year, please sit down. 1 to 5 years. 6 to 10 years. 11 to 15, 16 to 20, 21 to 25, 26 to 30, 31 to 35, 37. So let's start with Daryl. How many years? 37. 37. Carol. 36 for Carol. Dave Tidbury.
38.
Gentleman over here.
40.
40. Doug.
36.
Is that Larry back there?
Larry Goodall, 40. Bob, 37. 40th year.
40th. Barb?
This will be my 50th year.
And Pat? 42. It was 50 and then 42, if you didn't hear. That's amazing. That's like, as I traveled around, that really, I didn't realize how many people are still in kin as I went to 90th anniversaries this year, to districts, FLC, to see the amount of people that have been around still at 40, 50 years, still involved, still have the heart and the passion for kin, and they're just, it's never gonna die, so that was pretty cool to see all of you in the room today. I'll call on National Director Mitch Freeman to introduce the speakers for the National Vice President candidates.
Thank you, National President Terry. So at this time, I would call up the two National Vice President candidates, Brian Cooper and Steve Lowe. And I would also call up the individuals doing their introductions. We have Kin Eric for National Vice President candidate Steve, and Kin Vicky for National Vice President candidate Brian Cooper. As we know, each candidate has 1 minute this morning. It is for introduction purposes only, and we had a coin toss to determine who would go first, and Steve Lowe won the coin toss. He will be going first.
President Terry, guests, and fellow kin, it is with great pleasure today that I introduce to you your next National Vice President, Kin Steve Lowe. I've known Kin Steve for close to 20 years. Kin Steve has been an active and passionate member of Kin for over 40 years. Kin Steve started his journey beyond the club level in the early 2000s as Deputy Governor, and then served as District Treasurer the year that I was Governor. Kin Steve then went on to be District Vice Governor, and won the DQ Outstanding Governor Award in 2008. Kin Steve was instrumental in helping District 8 develop a 5-year strategic plan. Kin Steve then followed that with 2 years on the National Board as Association Director. He then also spent 2 years on the National Charter and Expansion Committee. He's been involved at the district and national level since the early 2000s. You may know Kin Steve for his silly antics in the hospitality suite, but I also know Kin Steve as passionate, honest, outgoing, and a dedicated Kin member who works very hard to make Kin better. Tomorrow, please vote for Kin Steve for the National Vice President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kin Eric, and we'll now call on Kin Vicky.
National President Terry, fellow kin. It's been said that our National Vice President and 100th President needs to be an educator, a mentor, and a motivator. They need to have both integrity and the experience, but most importantly, they need to be a strong leader in the boardroom while being the face of our proud, great association. Life member Brian Cooper embodies all of these. With almost 35 years in kin, his passion for kin, education, community building, relationships, and of course fellowship, has made him a great mentor and leader. I was proud as this past governor, to have signed his nomination form, and even more honored today to be introducing life member Brian Cooper as a National Vice President candidate, and ask that you vote for him tomorrow, because 100 years deserves 100% commitment.
Thank you very much, folks. I do want to make a couple of other small announcements. On all of the tables, you'll find 2 or 3 cue cards. The intent there is we have a National Vice President candidate forum tomorrow morning. We would very much encourage you to jot down any questions you may have for the candidates and then pass them back to myself, President Terry, Amanda, anyone from the board that you see. The intent is that we will then go through all of the questions, because we certainly will not be putting you guys through 100 or 200 questions. Try to boil it down to 4, 5, 6 really relevant, pertinent questions from the membership. So if you do have a moment today, please take that opportunity to jot down some of your thoughts and questions and hand them back in. With that, fellow kin, please, if you haven't already had the opportunity to chat with both of these individuals, please do so. Of course, as we all know, the election for National Vice President will be tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. Clearly, I passed the first test. I get to stay up here. Who said that?
Everybody.
Okay, so folks, we're now going to go into introductions for our national director candidates. We have 5 individuals amongst the membership that have put their name forward to be the next leaders at the national board. I would ask all 5 of those individuals to come up here along with the individuals doing their introductions. So we have Kin Cameron, Kin Eli, Kin Jason, Kin Lucy, and Kin Daryl. And if you're doing introductions, please come up as well. If you don't know who you are, I can call your name. We're all family here. We don't need to be formal with last names, do we?
We just don't want to say it, right? Gotcha.
You good? So a little bit different, same format from an introduction point of view, but as you know, the election for these fine individuals will occur this morning. Hopefully you've had the opportunity to be online, see their videos, to learn a little bit about each and every one of them. We're going to go in no particular order. I could not find a coin with 5 sides, so we are going to go with the order in which I happen to jot their names down. It's all very formal. So just so everyone knows what that order is, I have Kin Cameron, then Eli, Jason, Lucy, and Daryl. So up first, Kin Sheila, if you could introduce Kin Cameron.
National President Terry, guests and fellow kin. Peter Sundberg yesterday challenged us to emphasize possibly thinking. No one in kin I know exemplifies this more than Cameron Kemp, my friend. Since joining kin in 2005, Kin Cameron has taken on every task looking at the possibilities. Whether in his club and medicine hat, at the zone and district level, as membership, service, and risk manager, he looks not at just what has been done, but what can be done to help move us forward. Cameron's dedication has led to awards from the Outstanding Deputy Governor at both the district and national level to the Founders Award, and yes, he wins the Costume Award on a regular basis. Many of you know Cameron for his passion for kin and his desire to collect every piece of kin memorabilia he can get his hands on. If that isn't a passion for kin, I don't know what is. His wife, Toby, and those of you in District 4, she really does exist. I've actually met her. His wife, Toby, even lets him keep the collection at home. Cameron may look to the past and our history, but it is that past that moves into the future. Cameron's passion and dedication to kin and his career as an attorney give him the skills and knowledge to be a strong member of our National Board of Directors. Fellow kin, join me in electing Cameron Kemp as a member of our National Board of Directors. Thank you.
Family of kin, my name is Eli Risk, and I'm looking for your support this morning to enable me to serve as National Director for our organization. I'm a proud member of the Queen City Kinsmen of District 3 in Regina, Saskatchewan, and have been a member since 2009. My most recent roles within kin include chairman roles with both the Kinsmen Foundation as well as the Hal Rogers Endowment Fund. I also have previous board experience through my work with the United Way. If I'm elected, I will continue my strong commitment and support of our national programs such as cystic fibrosis, Canadian Blood Services, HREF, and others. I will work together collaboratively and cooperatively with my fellow board members on our policies and on our strategies to help continue visualizing and realizing the very best our organization has to offer to our members and to the clubs of this great organization. It would be my honor not only to be part of the National Board for the Centennial, but also to help prepare our organization for the next 100 years. Thank you for your consideration, and I appreciate your support. Please vote for me. Thank you.
National President Terry, guests, fellow kin, it's an absolute honor today to present to you one of our next national directors, Jason Andrews. Jason joined kin in 2004 as a member of the Kinsmen Club of Fredericton, and I arrived there a few years later, and what I would personally say about Jason is he's an absolutely instrumental force, not only to our club, but has been to our zone and to our district, and now we have agreed that we are prepared to share him with the rest of the country. Jason is one of the smartest guys I know, and he's been absolutely dedicated at everything he's taken on. He gives 110%. When we look at zone and district, Jason is always someone to be counted upon. We've seen it because of his involvement on a number of teams. People regularly look and want him to be involved. The board has a number of key responsibilities from a legal standpoint, but also from a strategic standpoint. And about a year and a half ago, Jason was thinking about kind of where he wanted to go next. And I have no doubt that any path he wants to choose, he would be successful in. But he's said time and time again, I want to be on the national board, I want to be on the national board, I want to be on the national board. And I can tell you without hesitation that he is one of the strongest voices and sharpest minds we could have on our national board of directors as we head into our next 100 years. So because of his experience, because of his ability to listen, and because of his opportunity to really work as a key team member to take us where we need to go, tomorrow, it's this morning actually, in like a few minutes, please vote. Please vote for Jason. He'd be a very strong voice for the National Board of Directors, and you certainly would have my vote. Thank you.
President Terry, fellow kin, I have the distinct pleasure of being able to introduce to you Lucy Boissonneau for the National Board of Directors. Lucy is a very charismatic lady who's very professional and bilingual, which is something that will definitely benefit us in the future years. She's held virtually every position at the district level and has served on several national committees as well, always doing an outstanding job in all of her work. She'll be an excellent addition to our board of directors because I know she will work tirelessly on your behalf. She will make our association a much better place. Her dedication and drive is only matched with her smile and laughter, which is truly infectious. And I encourage you all to vote for Lucy today. Lucy is proof positive that not only good things, but truly great things come in small packages.
I'm here to introduce Daryl Cooper. Daryl has been a Kinsman for 37 years. With a structured background in asset management and store development, he brings a great wealth of experience to the Kin board. Having served a 1-year term on the board, it's Daryl's dream to go for a 3-year term so that we can continue to move kincanada forward. It's time for kincanada to have a long-range plan and be proactive instead of reactive. And although Daryl is somewhat quiet, he is a thinker and he speaks, and when he speaks, he means it. I endorse the candidacy of Daryl Cooper, and I encourage you to move kincanada forward to also vote for Daryl Cooper.
Thanks very much, folks. Given some of the comments, I'd like to remind everyone the election for the national directors is this morning. In about an hour, maybe a little bit less. Thank you very much, folks. I'll hand the chair back to President Terry, unless there's something else I can do to help. You're good? I'll go check.
I think I see money. Just checking on credentials. I did miss a piece, and that's the address to the chair. We're going to have some fun with that over the next couple days. So it's going to be National President Terry, guests and fellow kin, and then you get to put a piece of a song on the end of that. So National President Terry, guests and fellow kin, watch me nay nay, or you are my sunshine, or something like that. So you guys can have some fun with that over the next couple days. Christine, did you just want to come up and give a quick, while we're waiting on credentials report about the auction? Did you want to say anything about the auction?
Oh, sure. I was thinking before lunch, tomorrow.
Just like how it's going to work, timing.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so as most of you have seen, we have 5 tables outside this room that are for our Cystic Fibrosis Canada silent auction. If you haven't had a chance, please take a perusal. It's open all through the breaks. It will be shut down in the evenings after everything because we can't leave. We're not allowed to leave it out overnight. So this afternoon after. I think it's 4. It will be shut down, but it will be open again tomorrow morning. The final bidding is at 12:15 tomorrow, and then after that, we will in the afternoon break, and after all of convention ends at 4 o'clock. Please come to the tables if you have made any bids to see if you won any of the bids, and we'll make sure that things are paid and you can pick up your items. And that you'll have probably till about 5 o'clock because we have to set up for the gala and stuff like that. So I think that's everything. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at any point during the day. Thanks. Credentials ready? No? I got nothing. Yeah.
National President Terry, fellow kin, and this is directed to your husband Rob, son of a bitch, get me there. We had some first timers that you drew their names out that want to draw. Can you point them out to us so we can really give them show them a good time when they're here with us this weekend?
Sure. Yeah. We have Tammy Bug, right? You want to stand up? Chris Lewis, Val Huffman. What is your name? Teresa Roberts. Jesus, I forgot your name. Mothership. Who else? You guys can just keep standing so people can see. Jacob.
I'm not here.
What else did we with? 1, 2, 3, 4. Sean Thompson was the winner of one of our draws. O.B. Crowley was a winner. Maria Hanaszewski was not a first-timer, but she was also a winner of one of our draws. So perfect. And they're going to be doing a little video tomorrow with Krista, just to talk about what it's like to win, to come to national conventions and some of the great experiences, so that we can promote that more for next year. So they'll be working on that. So call up Mel Mulligue for rules of order.
President Terry, yes. Family of kin, ooh, I got a good feeling. I didn't say I could sing. The rules of order and procedures for this kin convention shall be those published in the association's National Policies and Procedures Manual. The purpose of the business portion of the annual meeting is to ascertain the opinion of club members on the items of business coming before this meeting. To understand the question and to make an intelligent decision, discussion is necessary, thus some order must exist and some rules must be laid down. The purpose of the rules of order is to save time, coordinate the discussion, and allow all members the opportunity to enter into the discussion and keep the discussion relevant. The role of the Rules of Order Chair is to facilitate orderly business and debate. The role of the meeting chair is to find a balance, is to manage the business of the meeting with the constraints of the agenda and time. The role of the delegate, you, is to find a balance between personal opinion, club and district concern, and national or association interest. To be most effective in that role, the delegate must first be a listener to share in others' opinions. Secondly, a delegate must feel comfortable to speak and share their own opinion. And thirdly, a delegate must understand that regardless of what he or she personally thinks, that the consensus and/or the will of the majority will prevail. You may hear many moving, emotional, and articulate speakers. Your decisions may even be swayed by these presentations, but be sure that you are influenced by the correct balance of reason and passion. On the first day that John opened his law office, he saw a man that he didn't recognize coming up the steps to his new office. He decided he was going to make a big impression on this prospective client when he arrived. As the man came to the door, John picked up the phone and he motioned the man to come in and sit for a moment. No, absolutely not. You will tell those clowns in Halifax that I won't settle this case for less than $1 million. Yes, yes, I'll be handling the primary argument, and the other members of my team will provide support. Okay, tell the Crown Prosecutor that I'll meet him next week to discuss the details. This continued on for about 5 minutes. All the while, the man sat patiently as John rattled on. Finally, John put down the phone and turned to the man, said, "Sorry for the delay, but as you can see, I'm very busy. What can I do for you?" The man replied, "I'm from Bell Alliant. I've come to set up your telephone system." Also, don't be too quick on your judgment. With more information, there may be more to the story. A wealthy couple had planned to go out for the evening. The woman of the house decided to give their butler, Jeeves, the night off. She said they'd be home very late and that he should enjoy his evening. As it turned out, however, the wife wasn't really having a good time at the party, so she decided to come home early, alone. As the woman walked into the house, she saw Jeeves sitting by himself in the dining room. She called for him to follow her and led him into the master bedroom. She looked at him and smiled. "Jeeves," she said, "take off my dress." He did that carefully. "Jeeves," she continued, "take off my stockings and garter." He silently obeyed her. "Jeeves," she then said, "remove my underwear." As he did this, the tension mounted. And then she said to Jeeves, "If I ever catch you wearing my clothes again, you're fired." Finally, delegates are not obligated to accept everything they hear or see at face value. Joan, the town gossip and supervisor of the town morals, recently accused George, a local man, of being an alcoholic because she had seen his pickup truck parked outside the town's only bar. George stared at her a moment and said nothing. Later that evening, he parked his pickup truck in front of her house and left it there all night. Delegates must be prepared to accept what arises out of the context of democratic process and to respect the will of the majority. Don't be afraid to try something new. Remember, an amateur built the Ark, professionals built the Titanic. If a delegate wishes to address this convention, then I would ask that you remember some simple rules of etiquette. Come to a microphone nearest you. Don't see any, sorry. Maybe we'll get some out there. Have your thoughts in order. Address the chair properly once you have been recognized. Introduce yourself, state your home club, slowly and clearly for our secretary, and then render your wisdom to the meeting clearly and succinctly. And one final thought. Don't be shy. What you have to say might be what someone else needs to hear before they can make a decision.
Sorry, I'm not going to leave it. You don't want me to sing again, please.
Yes, we do.
No?
Sing.
No, sing is a song.
Sing.
Oh, do you want me to say it?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the rules of order report.
Let's see. Kevin Carlson?
Oh, that's right.
Point of order has been called. Seconder? Dutch? Daryl? And Marshall?
Yeah, good point.
National President Terry, can you do that without a credentials report?
No, I can't. We don't have a credentials report yet, so we can't do that. Deb?
National President Terry, guests and fellow kin, you'll have to excuse me. I'm not at my best. I've been gone for a month. I've been drunk since I left. These so-called conventions will soon be my death. I'm sick from the drink. I need home for a rest. If I may approach the podium, I have a presentation.
Yes.
Don't go anywhere.
Oh my.
Good morning. Debbie Flagg, District 1, Connect Club of Fort Erie. It is my honor to be up here today to make a presentation. For those other districts that don't know, District 1 has a fabulous event that we hold every August called Kin Camp. It is the ultimate fellowship event. During Kin Camp, over the August-long weekend, we hold various events from flip cups to horseshoes to karaoke, dance party, and a talent show for the kids. During the most recent Kin Camp, National President Terry and outgoing Governor Rob joined us. And at that time, they were very active in all of the activities. Some of them, like flip cups, not so great.
I tried.
Others, like the horseshoe tournament, she rocked it. Not sure if it has anything to do with being from D4 and knowing what end of the horse a horseshoe goes on. But along with incoming Governor Darrell from District 1's wife Kate, they won the ladies horseshoe championship at King Camp. Unfortunately, as is the case quite often with Kin Camp trophies, the last year's contestants forgot it at home, so we did not have it to present at Kin Camp. It was delivered to me this morning by Life Member Wendy Rolfe, who came in for business. Thank you, Wendy, for being the courier and for stopping at Timmy's. So it is my great pleasure to present National President Terry with the Ladies Championship Horseshoe Trophy from Kin Camp District 1, August 2018.
So I'll call up Terry Iredell to present our education piece this morning.
President Terry, guests, and fellow kin. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. You're supposed to sing with me, are you not? Did I? I'm nervous. Fine session isn't over yet, right? You misspelled it. At least you're paying attention. Excellent. Welcome to Friday of National Convention, traditionally known as Education Day. Hi everyone at home, watching. Glad you're here to join us. You will notice that the entire convention is dedicated to education, with each day having something scheduled that will provoke curiosity, spark the imagination, and inspire all of us to reach higher. We hope that you enjoyed yesterday's presentations. I just wanted to take a quick moment to point out on the tables you will find some information on our speakers and presentations that we are having over the course of the weekend. And I just wanted to point out to you on the back page, we're very appreciative of the Kincanada Foundation for helping support our education pieces this weekend, so thank you very much to the foundation for that. All of the National Education and Training Committee are floating around this weekend, and we're lucky to have them all attend. We have introduced them before, but I just want to quick have them stand up again. Mel, Lee, Coop, JM, and Deb. Today's agenda has already begun with the start of business and with the National Director election coming up shortly. With the awards luncheon and the service gala tonight, it's already a pretty exciting day. But wait, we aren't done. We're kicking off today's education piece with a session on emotional intelligence. Then after the awards luncheon, we'll be hearing about asset-based community development and then wrapping up the session on diversity. We know that you will walk away out of this room today having learned something new. We won't be evaluating these sessions until after the convention, but we do want to hear your opinion. So please take part in the convention evaluation when it becomes available. But enough about me. Our session this morning speaks to emotional intelligence. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our morning speaker. With over 30 years of experience in the adult education, a trainer and facilitator to many organizations. When I was interviewing with him this morning and having a quick chat out in the lobby, some things that he relayed to me was his passion for engaging people. He loves learning. Education and training is his hobby. He comes to us with a policing background, is currently a teacher at UWO in London in the Ivy Leadership Program. He resides in London with his wife Lynn, who is a Ministry of Education worker, and his son is actually a fireman. So it is my pleasure at this moment to introduce to you Peter Sheriff, and I'll turn the floor over to him.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone this morning? Good. It's nice to know the bar's been open for Terry. When she did that RSCPC thing, I thought, oh, here we go. So, my name is Peter Sheriff, and I'm going to be with you for the next little while. And you're probably thinking, who is this guy? Well, this guy, like you, is a lifelong learner, someone who likes to engage in service organizations, and also someone who likes to have a little bit of fun. So we're going to try to do all of those things today. So a little bit about me. I know the bio's in the brochure, but if you're wondering who I am and where I come from, I grew up in the thriving metropolis of Dorchester, which is just about an hour and 15 minutes. I recognize a few people, absolutely. So Dorchester, a lot of people say, where's Dorchester? Well, if you've ever heard of Slow Pitch City, that's kind of what Dorchester is famous for. One of the things that Dorchester is famous for. So I'm a retired guy. I just retired about 1.5 years ago. And one of the things I know, for those of you who are retired or thinking about retirement, one of the things I know is that you have to be busy. And I know for a fact when I retired, some people get a honey-do list. Well, when I retired, I got a honey-do binder from my lovely wife. And it had a tab and an index and lots of pages. And I think I'm done my list to about M right about now. I still have a lot more to go. But one of the things I knew is I wanted to stay busy. So I got a call from Western, and they said, you interested in doing a little bit of teaching and training and facilitation? The answer is yes. I have had a few requests to go back into the policing environment, but I choose not to for many reasons. I spent 35 years doing that. It's been fun. It's time to do something different. So I spend my time, part of my part-time time that I have left over, doing some teaching. And I learned a lot more about service and how to put things into perspective because I volunteer drive for the Canadian Cancer Society. And just, it really made me appreciate what I have in life. So when you think you're having a bad day and you go to pick somebody up at their house and you're taking them for a chemo treatment, it certainly changes your perspective on how big your problems are. So that's how I spend my time. Terry indicated our lovely son Andrew. He's a firefighter. He's Mr. April in the calendar. I have a few in my briefcase over here. They're autographed. He'll be here in about 15 minutes. He's my pride and joy. It's interesting, anybody that knows about the healthy rivalry between police and fire. I've been in policing, and my son's he's a firefighter, so we have lots of good conversations. So, but I'm really proud of him. So that's enough about me, and I do have 3 hobbies: golf, golf, and golf. That's in my bio, so if you want to talk about golf, and I have played pretty much every golf course in this area, but I think there's a couple that elude me. So what I want to do is I want to talk about the topic for today. And when I use the term emotional intelligence, a lot of people say, well, what is that? I think I know what it is, I'm not sure. Is that something that I know a lot about, or do I have any experience with? Well, the answer is yes to all of that. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to take a very complex topic, and I'm going to try to narrow it down and make sure that you have a bit of an understanding from a high level of what emotional intelligence is and what it's not. So the other thing we're going to do is we're going to practice a little bit today. So we're going to spend a little bit of time playing with emotional intelligence. So what I really want to do is I want to share my perspective, and I also want to share perspectives that I've learned along the way and what I think I know. What we also want to do is everyone in this room, just to show of hands, who in this room is a leader? Everybody. Everyone in this room is a leader. Well, some people say, well, I don't have that role or that title or that position. Well, everyone in this organization, and again, I have to stop and thank everyone in this room and around the country that's involved in kin. I have a cousin who has CF, and because of you folks, his life is a lot better than it could have been. So I have to thank everybody here for that. So what we want to do today is we want to help you and provide you with some tools that will hopefully support you in your leadership journey. You're going to have some skill building opportunities, and then finally, we're going to have an opportunity for you to enhance your leadership capacity. So that's really what we want to do in a short period of time. So for everyone in the room, me included, when it comes to dealing with the world, the work world, the service world, your personal life, there's a lot of change. And I also want to just stop and acknowledge what I see in this room and what I heard when I arrived. I was very, very impressed when I saw people who had been in the organization for 50 years and more. That's uber impressive. What I'm also equally impressed with are the folks in the room who are new to the organization. And I'm going to say this candidly, probably a little bit younger than I am, quite a bit younger than I am. And I really like to see that. I teach a lot of courses at Western and around the province, and I've got young people and old people and people in the middle that are interacting, and that's a really important factor for success, is bringing new people into the organization. And it's also really nice that the folks that have been around a while can act as mentors for those folks. So when it comes to what we're doing in the world, whatever we're doing at the time, there's a lot of change. So some of us look at this and we might think, well, we might have that might be a problem, or that might be a bit of an issue. There's also some people that are a little bit afraid of what's happening. And then there's also other people who will look at this and say there are opportunities. So what does this have to do with emotional intelligence? It has everything to do with emotional intelligence. Every interaction we have, whether it's personal, professional, or any combination of those, we all have our own perspectives on things. So when things change, some people say, yeehaw, I can hardly wait for things to change. Other people are saying, why don't we just leave it the way it is? Our bylaws, our constitution, our rules of the organization are great the way they are, just leave them alone. But we all know that we do have to change with the times, and we have to change with what's going on in the world. So for each one of us, we're going to have a different perspective. Now what you'll notice is, and I just want you to study this graphic, I know it's been up there for a few minutes, but have a look. When you look at it, what do those people have with them? Anyone have a guess, or anyone want to throw out, just yell it out. They have their baggage, absolutely. Now some people will say, well, they have their luggage or their stuff that they need. And when it comes to whatever journey you're going on, whether it be organizationally, whether it be personal or individual, there are some things we have to take with us. But what I have learned, and one thing people a lot smarter than me, what they've shared with me, is travel light and be nimble. Take the stuff that you need, but try to let go of some of that baggage. So if the organization is going in a direction that maybe you're not 100% comfortable with, get used to it and support it, and provide some information and insight that's going to help the organization. And I'm speaking to the converted. I just heard lots of passionate conversations and information about how the organization is being shaped, with new folks joining with different positions. It's also really interesting to know that people are still stepping up to the plate for those types of roles. So for each one of us, as we go down whatever that journey is, we want to make sure that we travel light, be nimble, take the stuff that you need, but leave the stuff you don't need behind. So what does this have to do with emotional intelligence? This is really emotional intelligence 101. So, and there's also a huge link here to leadership. Now, I love this graphic, and I'm going to share this candidly. Who is that guy? Anybody know who that guy is? Ron Burgundy, Will Ferrell, yeah, absolutely, both. So I was doing a session for the Canadian Chiefs of Police about 3 months ago. And I put this graphic up, I put this slide up, and I said, and who is this person? And someone yelled out, Ron Jeremy. Now that tells me a little bit about who is in this room. And I know it was just for research purposes only, right? That's not Ron Jeremy, that's Ron Burgundy. So leadership, it's a big deal. And the big question is why? Why is leadership such a big deal? Well, it's not only a requirement of any organization, whether it's a service organization or a nonprofit or a for-profit organization, because if you don't have solid leadership, and if you don't have emotionally intelligent leaders, things can happen in the organization. People can leave, and I'm going to be real candid. People can leave the organization. They leave sometimes because of the people. You're all passionate people, you're dedicated to the cause and to the work that you do, I know that. And it's really important that each one of us try to do the best that we can to be the best leader that we can be. And there's the link. Now, when it comes to big organizations, I do a lot of work with lots of big organizations, and I do a lot of employee engagement reviews and service reviews. And the number one thing that comes up when somebody leaves an organization, they say, I didn't leave because of the organization, I left because of the leader or because of the leaders. And I don't want to paint a negative picture. On the flip side of that, when people join an organization, when they're onboarding them, you ask the question, what is it that you would like in a leader? Well, I want someone who's emotionally intelligent. So there's a parallel universe there. So it is a big deal. So the other thing I want to share with you as well is leadership in general. It sort of comes at different levels. So there's self, that's you. There's others, the team members that you work with, and then there's the bigger organization. And I know you know that, but I just want to make sure that we're going to focus on all three of those today. But the real focus is going to be on you as individuals. So that's really what my focus is going to be about. The other thing that I learned a long time ago is that if you're in a management and or a leadership role, and there's differences and similarities between the two, when it comes to leadership, there are three key things you need to know. You need to know yourself, you need to know your people, the people that report to you or the people that you work with, and you need to know the organization. So those are sort of the three key things. And if you don't know yourself, there's a problem, there's a disconnect. So the number one thing to think about is, do I really know myself? And that's a bit of a weird question. People say, well, of course I know myself. I've been in my skin my entire life. But it's really important that we have a full understanding of who we are. So we're going to explore that today. So I love this quote, Rosalind Carter: a leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but ought to be. So that, if you take anything away from today, think about that. From a leadership perspective, it's not always easy. Sometimes you have to use a little bit of extra brain power and horsepower to get people where they want to go. But it's your responsibility. In 50 years, when they're having the 50th anniversary of this conference, people are going to be talking about this topic one way or another. And people are going to be expecting the same thing. So it never goes away. So before I put you to work, and I was talking to Grant about what I proposed for today, and I said, are people okay with some activity? And he said, yes, they are. They love activity. I said, do they like homework? He said, no, they hate homework. He said, I'm not going to give you any homework. But I want to, before we get to the activity, there is a little bit of homework, but it's easy stuff. I just want to share with you, and this is a model that I created quite a while ago, and leader-manager competencies are as complicated as emotional intelligence. Because when you say the word competencies, some people say, I know exactly what that means. So it's skills, knowledge, abilities, and your capacity to do great things. So that's really what competencies are all about. But to simplify it, and I'll just share an example from policing. If you get into a senior commander, you're looking at a senior command position, you have to know about 35, and not only know them, you have to be competent in about 35 things. Now, I don't know about you, but I can do 4 or 5 things really well, but 35 is a bit of a stretch. So what I would recommend for everyone in this room as a leader, if you focus on 4 things, I can remember 4 things easily, but I can't remember 35. So if you remember these things, these competencies, and this will be a direct link to emotional intelligence, is you're responsible for transforming the organization. That's your role as a leader. You're also responsible for delivering the goods, the stuff that you do, and you're also responsible for connecting with people here and beyond. And you're also responsible, the competency that you're responsible for is to inspire. So transform, deliver, connect, and inspire. So those 4 things. So the top 2, transforms and delivers, that's your cognitive intelligence. That's the stuff that's easy to measure. Are they transforming the organization, and are they delivering? Now, for those of you who are still working outside of this organization, I'll just bet you that in your organization, they count stuff. They count a lot of stuff. Give me an example of what they count in an organization. What do they count?
Sales.
Sales, absolutely. Yeah, anything else?
Membership number.
One, yeah, absolutely, membership. Yeah, and that's a direct link here. One of the other things that they count is how much everybody does, like it's sales and marketing. So they're trying to measure that. So that's your cognitive intelligence. That's easy. The hard part is connecting and inspiring. That's emotional intelligence. That's EI. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of, I know you know this, but just to be uber aware that there's our cognitive intelligence and there's our emotional intelligence. The emotional intelligence is the hardest thing to measure. Because in a lot of organizations, they don't do this. They don't measure how well people are connecting with individuals and how they're inspiring people, because those are hard questions. So it's just something for you to think about as leaders. I'm responsible for those 4 things, and I'm also responsible for what I do and how I do it. So those are just a few things to take away. All right, so before I put you to work, last thing I want to say is that each one of us as a leader, and this isn't a bad thing, each one of us works in a fishbowl. Now the fishbowl effect, And that creeps some people out. They say, oh, people are watching me. That's not the case. What's happening is you're being observed all the time. People are watching what you do it, how you interact with people. So the link there is to emotional intelligence is just be aware that people are watching what you do and how you do it. So your emotional intelligence is going to serve you really well. So one of the key skills, one of the competencies that every one of us must possess as a good leader, as a spouse, as a partner, as a parent, as a friend, you need to be a good listener. So who in the room is a good listener? What did you say? What was that? Okay, so it tells me we have a little bit of work to do. Because not everybody threw their hand up there, and that's okay. And this is not a negative test. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to find out how good a listener we are in the room. And we're going to measure. We talked about measurement. So grab a pen or something to write with, and grab something to write on. If you have a brochure, or if you don't have a pen, you can. I'm going to ask you 4 questions. And some of you grab your glasses. So grab a pen. Grab something to write on. So this is your first assignment. This is your first individual assignment. So you're going to work on this on your own. So what I'd like you to do is I'm going to rattle off 4 questions. And what I'd like you to do is write down the first thing that comes to your mind. Don't think about it too much. Just write down the first thing. Don't say it out loud. Don't talk to your neighbors. This is one time I want you to be nice and secretive, which isn't a good thing in 2018. So here's question number 1. And again, just write it down. Don't blurt it out. We'll do a debrief after. All right, so the first question. Is there a 4th of July in England? Is there a 4th of July in England? Question number 2. How many months have 28 days? How many months have 28 days? Question number 3. Can a man marry his widow's sister? Can a man marry his widow's sister? And I didn't say his widow's sister like in Arkansas. Can a man marry his widow's sister? And the last question is, how many of each species did Moses take on the ark? How many of each species did Moses take on the ark? Okay, so you got them all down? So let's debrief. Question number 1. Is there a 4th of July in England? Yes. Yeah, it's just after the 3rd and just before the 5th. Now, I know we're in a border town here, and some people say, oh, okay, well, no, that's only in the USA. So yes, there is a 4th of July in England. How many months have 28 days? Oh. Wow. Anyone get anything different? No, because you don't want to appear embarrassed. Oh, I see. Someone bold soul up there put their hand up. Okay. All right, so next question. Can a man marry his widow's sister? No. Why?
If he has a widow, he's dead. Yeah.
Let's do this one more time. Can a man marry his widow's sister? No. Why? He's dead. He's dead, absolutely. Now, if you don't still get that, talk to your table mates and those please.
You can't marry dead people, Terry. Come on.
In order for a man to have a widow, he has to be dead. So he can't marry his widow's sister. All right? Now, again, some jurisdictions that might be legal. All right, so the 4th question, how many of each species did Moses take on the ark?
None.
Noah. 0. Okay, did anyone get anything different? I see a couple people still shaking their head saying, no, it was 2. I saw some people do it. 2. Okay, so that is a quick little goofy quiz just to prove that each one of us, everyone in this room, is a good listener, but we can do better. The other thing that also demonstrates is that each one of us, when we hear certain things, we stop listening, and I'm looking at most of the men in the room, because my wife told me to say that. No, what happens is we all do it. We hear certain things, we get enough data, enough information, and we just stop, and then we start answering the question. So listening and speaking and emotional intelligence are all connected. All right? So it's just something to think about. So I just want to repeat number 3. A man cannot marry his widow's sister because he's dead. Again, talk about amongst your table groups if you still don't get it. All right. So that was your first individual exercise. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a table exercise or a team exercise. So what I would like you to do in your table groups, the table groups that you're sitting in, if the numbers are even, that's great. If they're not, turn to the table beside you. What I need you to do is I need you to find a partner. I need you to find a partner, somebody to work with. If you want to get up and go to another table and talk to other people, that's fine. This is going to be massive chaos, and I like chaos. So just find a partner. Just kind of look at somebody, find somebody that you can work with. We need to separate you two? Yeah. All right, so find a partner. Find somebody that you can just have a very quick conversation with. Does everyone have a partner? Cool enough. Everyone has a partner. Okay, and if you don't have a partner, we'll find somebody for you. So here's your exercise. Here's what I would like you to do. What I would like you to do is one person is going to be the speaker or the sender, and the other person is going to be the receiver or the listener. And what I would like you to do is share a 1-minute story, with your partner about anything that you want to talk about. You can talk about Kincanada, you can talk about your summer vacation plans, you can talk about anything you want to talk about. Sports, politics, whatever you want to talk about. And all I want the other person to do is just listen. And I want to see how good of a listener we are here. All right, so is everyone clear? One person's going to speak, the other person's just going to listen. It is going to be loud and it's going to be chaos. So off you go. 1 minute, go, and I'm going to stop you in 1 minute. To do is just stop for a second. That's your 1 minute. A minute flies by. So here's what I'd like you to do. The person who was listening, what I'd ask you to do is repeat back to that person as much as you can in that story. All right? So just do a repeat, just a summary of what that person, the story they were talking to you about. Are you good? 1 minute, off you go. Okay, folks, I'm going to ask you to stop there if you'd be so kind. I'm just going to ask you to stop. I sort of shortened it up by a few seconds. So, I'm going to share my observations and some observations of others, but so what was that like? What was that like? Scary. It was okay? It was scary. It was good?
Yeah, it was good.
It was good. What else? Absolutely. Chaos, right? Do you ever work in chaos?
Yes.
Absolutely. So this is a good practice session for you. Absolutely. So the reason I like to do that, a couple reasons, is that it trains us to really focus on the individual. And in 2018, and I'm going to say this candidly, we have a lot of distractions. I don't have my phone on me, but we have our phones with us all the time, so that's one. We also have things that are going on inside of our brain that we're thinking about. I want to do this, I have to be there, what's going on at home, who's feeding the dog. There's a million things. So we're competing for each other's attention. So the reason I like to do that exercise, because it forces us, in a nice way, it forces us to focus on the individual. I've had many, many conversations with lots of people, and I've been in their office, and they've got the computer sitting in front of them, and I'm over here, and they've got one eye on me and one eye on that computer because they're waiting for that next ding to come in, that email. So we have to train ourselves, and I'm going to say this candidly, we have to retrain ourselves to focus on people, to focus on the individual. And what does this have to do with emotional intelligence? It has everything to do with emotional intelligence, because when we ask people, what is it that you like about your leader? They're fantastic, they're friendly. And then the conversation starts going into, so is there things that they can improve upon? The numbers are pretty high, and I don't mean to be negative, but the numbers are pretty high when they say, I just wish they'd listen to me more. My boss, my leader, my manager, my friend, my colleague. So it's something we need to practice, and it's just a simple way to do that. Now, I'll ask the question, how did anyone in the room, the person who repeated the story back, did they nail it? Did they get it?
Yes.
They did? Close? They were way off, it was horrible. You're going to hear all of those things. That's good. What I'm hearing is that you folks are good listeners, and you should be. That's part of the work that you do. You need to listen to people. So it's an opportunity for all of us just to remember that these are the simple little things that we can do to retrain ourselves and when it comes to interacting with other individuals. So when you think about inspiring and connecting with people, if you're a good listener and you're using your emotional intelligence, they're going to gravitate to you. And that's the role of the leader as well. All right? So we're going to do another exercise in a minute, but I just wanted to move on. So we found out where the good listeners are. So what I would ask you to do is, as you're going forward in your organization and you're doing the work that you're doing, is check in with each other every now and again. Like, how are we doing? Are we listening to one another? Ask that question. Are we communicating effectively? So it's not a bad thing to do. So I would encourage you to do that at your leisure. So the other thing, listening, the other element of emotional intelligence, including listening, is asking good questions. Now, leaders have to ask tough questions. We all have to ask tough questions in our life. Leaders specifically have to ask tough questions. This question here, the first one, how does that make you feel? Is that a question that comes naturally for everyone? Some people are saying, yeah, no. It depends. It depends on the relationship. It depends on a lot of things. One thing to keep in mind is that emotions and feelings are directly connected to a lot of things, especially emotional intelligence. Do you ever have any conversations in your organization, whether it be locally, in your districts, or nationally? Do you have conversations about emotions? How are people feeling? I'm seeing some people say yes. That's fantastic. I talk to a lot of organizations and they go, oh, especially from a policing environment, we don't care about people's feelings. We just don't. And it's not just in policing, it's in a lot of places. It's changing, and the tide is starting to shift a little bit, where people are starting to really understand that emotions and feelings have an awful lot to do with a lot of things in the organization. Are people happy? Are they leaving? Are they stressed out? Are they off sick? Are they doing other things? So it's something to keep in mind, is talking about feelings. I spent a little bit of time, and I'm just going to share a very quick story. I spent a wee little bit of time at an organization in London called CPRI, Child Parent Resource Institute. They do magical work there with challenged kids. And I mean the most complex kids in Canada and in Ontario. Anybody ever been there or worked there, you'll probably have an understanding of what it's about. They do amazing work with kids. So the staff were starting to feel a little stressed out. And I can share this because I was there and I've been told that I can share the story. Where I'm going with this was the staff were saying, They're really having some issues because they were saying, and the managers, staff and the managers, and the clients, the people that they serve, were saying, you know, people are just not really quite in touch with our feelings. We need to have more conversation about feelings. Well, the senior administrator there, she was brilliant. She said, well, you know what, we're going to spend some time focusing on that. So what they did is they engaged an organization, I think they're out of New York, and it's called, the model they use is called Sanctuary. If you want to do a little Googling or do a little bit of research, it's called Sanctuary, and it's actually really cool, and I'd never heard of this before. They have conversations with staff and managers, staff and staff, managers and managers, clients. Everybody has conversations about their feelings. So they start a conversation with like this, and this is going to sound, for some of us, it's a little bit, I'm not sure I would do that, but I just want you to hear me out. They would start a conversation, a meeting with, Peter, how are you feeling today? And when they asked me that for the first time, it's like, why are you asking me that question? Because that's not familiar to me. So how are you feeling today? Well, I'm feeling kind of happy, or I'm feeling kind of sad, or I'm a little bit angry, or I'm a little bit frustrated. So it's a range of emotions, and this isn't a whole conversation about those range of emotions. So the one question they ask is, how are you feeling? Why do you think that would be important to know how somebody is feeling? Yep.
Gives the opportunity to figure out how the mindset of the person you're dealing with to, if they're happy, then okay, we can joke with you, but if you're ticked off, then maybe jokes aren't so much a good idea.
Absolutely. And it sounds, some people say I would never do that, and it sounds a little bit odd to some, but it's actually a really cool thing because it does exactly that. It allows you to come into their space and say, they're a little bit angry. They're telling me they're a little bit angry. So I think my approach to this conversation or this task that we're doing might be a little bit different. So, and it sounds simple in a way, but we don't do it. So the second, thank you very much. So the second part of that is, how are you feeling? The second question that they ask is, and what's your goal for today? Like, what's your goal? What's your goal for this meeting? What's your goal? Well, I have a goal to finish a task. The third question they ask is, and this I think is almost as important as the first question, and who can you ask for help? Who can you ask for help, or who can help you? Now, I know some of you are saying, I don't think I would ever do that in my work world or my organizational world, and that's your choice. But what I want to share with you is that their results, the outcome of that, is that employee engagement, their satisfaction rate and their retention rate has gone way, way up. Way, way up. People are more engaged, people are happier. The work is complex, but it allows them to get a glimmer into someone else's world just by asking 3 simple questions. So I encourage you to think about those. So, how are you feeling? What's your goal, and who can help you? So you can think about that, use that or not, but it's just something that you may want to consider. And again, what does this have to do with emotional intelligence? Everything. It's a link between how is somebody doing, do they need a little bit of space, do they need a little bit of time, are they happy, are they sad, what's going on? Because in 2018, we do things rapidly, we do things really fast. It's a real fast-paced world, so it's just something for you to think about. So again, these questions here, so how do you feel, or how does that make you feel? What do you need? What is it that I can do to help you? This is the question that a lot of people don't ask others, is what do you think? My best boss, my best leader, she was amazing, because she said to me, she's chief of police, and she said, what do you think we should do here, instead of I'll tell you what we're going to do? So those are some questions that you can ask. The final question, and I don't have to tell you this, is how can I help? Because that's what you folks do. But I just want to encourage you to continue to do that, because that's the voodoo that you folks do, is how can I help? Whether it's a service organization, an individual, or anything else. So those are, listening and questions are really important. There's a direct one. All right, so let's cut to the chase. We're going to be done about 7:30, is that all right? All right. So emotional intelligence, what is it? So if you take anything away from this, this might be something for you to think about. It's the ability, the competency, the ability to effectively perceive, manage, and use one's emotions. Yours and theirs. So it's your emotions and theirs. The ability to effectively manage emotional connections with those around us. So it's both things. It's you and them. It's the balance between head and heart. And I'm going to give you some examples in a second. So that's what emotional intelligence is all about. Now it sounds really simple, but it's really not. It's complicated, but we're going to make it simple. So emotional intelligence, why is it important? Well, it increases our leadership ability, our own capacity. It increases team performance. It also improves decision making, decreases occupational stress, which we all have, reduces staff turnover and change. and it also increases our personal well-being. So if we think about this personally and professionally, it covers both. That's what high levels of emotional intelligence will do. Now, some of you are probably saying, how do I know if I'm emotionally intelligent? So I'll give you a bit of a quotient in a minute. And there's lots of things you can do online. Hey Group has a really good assessment tool. Costs you a few bucks, basically answer some questions, and it spits out a number. But what I like about some of these, I like and don't like about some of those assessments, some of them will give you some strategies on what you can do, and some of them just give you a number or a rating, and then what do I do with that? So what I would encourage you to do is do a little bit of research, find out what works for you. You might want to look at that as an organization. But emotional intelligence, just be careful what you're researching. So this is emotional intelligence. This is the complicated part. So it's self and social. So it's you and you as you see yourself and how others see you. So it's who I am, and it's also what I do. So it's self-awareness. It's your ability to understand and recognize your emotions, and we're going to practice that in a minute. And it's also the ability to understand how other people are feeling, and then it's also the ability to control your emotions. And we're going to do a little bit of a test in a minute. So it's all of those things. So those 4 quadrants, you're going to dance in between all of those. That's what emotional intelligence is really all about. It's who I am and how other people see me. So you're going to find that there's a bit of a disconnect at times. So last little bit on emotions. So each one of us, anybody here a doctor or in the medical field, you're going to look at this and say, yeah, I've studied this for a while, I know this. Every one of us, Homer Simpson, I had a graphic, but it didn't work very well. It had a nice video, but Homer Simpson's brain looks a little bit different. I think there's a focus on beer, perhaps, I don't know. So every one of us, we have all of these things. Some are bigger, some are smaller. The area I want you to focus on is sort of halfway down, the amygdala. And the amygdala, and I'm no doctor, but I know a little bit about first aid, but the amygdala is a really important part of our brain, and everybody has one. Depending on the individual, it's like a little walnut or a peanut or a small size piece in your brain that controls us to learn, helps us learn. It's a source of memory, our social memory, and it also it manages our emotions. So that's the amygdala. And every one of us, everybody here has one. Unless you've had it removed, and I don't know why you would. So the amygdala is a really important thing to think about here. So the amygdala hijack, and this is what happens to us when our emotions get out of control. And I don't want you to think about this as a negative. I just want you to think about this is what happens to us. This is a biological, physiological thing that happens. So the amygdala hijack, rage in the brain. And I'm going to get you to demonstrate rage in the brain in a minute. So, external stimuli, something happens. All right, I'll give you an example. So you're hammering a nail and you hit your thumb. If anybody's ever done that, that's not a pleasant experience. Now, if you hit somebody else's thumb, it's not so bad. But if you hit your own thumb, that sometimes can make you a little bit mad. That can trigger rage in the brain because it hurts. So that's one reaction that can happen. And then what can also happen, it bypasses the logic center. So your logic center would say, I should just calm down, it's not that big of a deal, the pain will go away. But some of us, it just doesn't go away for a long time. Anybody here ever built a barbecue? You know where you go now? Yeah. That's rage in the brain. That will happen. Now some of you are probably saying, no, I buy them installed, or I buy them assembled. That's emotional intelligence. Buy it assembled. Because I put one together, and my lovely wife said to me, what are those extra parts doing over there? I don't know. So anyway, we're at number 3. So what happens, and every one of us has varying levels of this in our body. We have adrenaline and testosterone, and we all know the effects of that. Things can happen. So your whole body feels like it's under attack. And then what happens is your blood pumps faster, your heart goes, your palms get sweaty, and sometimes you physically sweat. And then the blood pumps, and that creates more rage in the brain. So that's the scientific version of that. And it takes about 20 minutes for that to go away. Some of us longer, some of us less time. But on average, it takes about 20 minutes. So I'm going to show you the best example of an amygdala hijack that is world renowned. Anybody here a soccer fan? Football, soccer fan? Okay. Thank you. I was going to ask for a volunteer to walk us through that. Do we have a microphone that this gentleman or person can use? Don't give him a microphone. So that tells me you're emotionally aware of what's about to happen. So So I will intervene, because we don't want to be done at 7, right? Okay, so what happens is, this is a 2006 World Cup. The captain, one of the best soccer players on the French team, Zidane, he and the Italian player, they have an exchange of words. There's something said, originally we thought it was about his mother, but it was about his sister. The Italian player said something about the French player's sister. And the French player headbutts him, knocks him down, gets a red card. He's their best player, Zidane, the guy in white, the white uniform. He's their best player, arguably their best player, one of the best soccer players in the world. He gets booted out of the game, and Italy beats France in penalty kicks. So Zidane was one of the best penalty kickers. So if he was on the field, he would have been around hopefully to win the game. So this is the amygdala hijack at work. Someone says something, or someone does something, and you just go off. You just go off. Something happens. And I don't mean like horrible off. It's just that's what happens in your brain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little exercise, and I'm going to ask you to do this in your table groups. So you're driving your car, or you're in a car if you're a passenger, and you're on your way to an important appointment or a meeting. So I'm going to paint this picture again. You're driving in a vehicle, could be a bus, could be a car, could be a truck, whatever. You're going in a vehicle to an important meeting that you do not want to be late for. Could be a job interview, could be a doctor's appointment, you could be going to the lotto booth to get your winnings. Whatever it is, you're going to this meeting. And you get a flat tire. You've kind of gone through some construction already, and you get a flat tire. What do you do? What do you do? You get a flat tire, what do you do? In your table groups, take 5 minutes, and let's just have a little emotional, intelligent conversation about what do you do in that situation. What would you do in that situation?
I'm phoning my husband.
Get out of the car, climb the door, take the fire, then you open the trunk and you say,
You know you're a race driver when your 3-year-old is like getting impatient at red lights. Yeah, and I'm like, shit. Obviously so I really tried to tone it down. Quite simple enough that you're supposed to interact with
Love it.
And then it's really mad at that car in front of us. Yeah, no. There's a automatic.
Okay, so I'm going to do the report, and then I'm going to give you guys a copy of it so that you have the we decided that we're not going to report the delegates by uptype because they really represent anything that you're down anyway. So we're just going to get the number of accredited delegates, what the 50% and 2/3 are. Okay?
You're right. We're not doing these.
We're just going to do total. I'm going to give this to you, and then you can answer it.
Faster than I can. They're going to get pulled over, so I find that guy that's going just that much faster than me, and then I'm right behind him. Doesn't take long to find one. Oh yeah. So you have to come across this one person, and then you cannot pass them. No, I know. So once you think,
Okay, folks, just take about one more minute, sort of finish off your conversation on what you're going to do, or what would you do?
I'll drop this off after I make the report.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to really find out what's going on in the room. I heard some amazing things, some things I've never heard before, some things I'll never repeat. That table right over there. So let's, anybody who can yell really loud. So in that situation, you're on your way to this important meeting, whatever it is, an appointment. You go through, you're late, you get a flat tire. What do you do?
Keep driving.
Keep driving, absolutely, yeah.
Insurance is counted now.
For a little bit. For a little bit. What do you do? Yeah.
Call the place where you're going and say you're going to be late.
Oh my goodness, what a fabulous idea. What do you think that would do?
Fired.
Absolutely, yeah. You're fired, yeah. What else would you do? Thank you. What else would you do? Call me, yeah.
Call my husband.
The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say every swear word I
That's honesty. That's honesty. Okay, a couple more. What are you going to do?
First, I'm going to cry.
Okay.
And then I'm going to get over it and figure the plan I also said to call.
Okay,
Then,
all right.
then call somebody to come and help me.
But you're going to get something out of the way. Some emotional. Okay, I'm going to go over here for a second. Yeah.
Get out and slam the door.
Slam the door. Yep, absolutely. Let a little frustration out. Is that going to make you feel better?
For about 3 seconds.
Absolutely. And then the bill for repairing the door.
Exactly.
Okay. At the back there. Yes, sir. What are you going to do?
I'm a pessimist. I'm never disappointed. I always give myself lots of extra time, so if we got a flat tire, I have to change it.
I see that's a popular response. Yes, okay. But you know what? Not a bad idea. Do a little bit of planning ahead. Hey, there's summertime construction. I might get a flat tire. Yes, sir. What are you going to do?
After a few swear words, phone me and then cancel the meeting.
Absolutely, yeah. Let them know you're not going to be there or cancel. Okay, yes, ma'am. Change the tire. Imagine that. It's 2018. Okay. That's great. You're going to change the tire. Problem solved. What else? What else are you going to do?
You're going to take the cooler out and take it to the back car when you're changing it, crack open a beer.
No. I'm going to come over and see you after the session's over. I just want to get a picture of your license. That's right, yeah. I was driving the scooter going, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Circus bear, right? Yeah. Okay, yes, ma'am. Hold on a second, yes, ma'am. Yep, that's you. What a concept. I can video chat. Absolutely. Why not? Why not? Good. Uber. Call somebody. Yeah, get a ride. Yeah, anything else? Okay, we've done well. So, what we heard, there's a couple hundred people in the room here. We heard varying responses, and they're all good, except for the beer thing. Yeah. Well, actually, that's not such a bad idea. It's summer, right? So I'll just share an example of emotional intelligence when it comes to a flat tire. And you nailed it. It's, you have to do something to let people know. You can, fix it and move on. Tell them you're going to be late and go. So my lovely wife Lynn and I, we're going over to Port Huron, and we're about 6th in line. And I see this car in the lane ahead of us because I always track who's ahead of us. And he's just a little bit ahead of us, and I notice he's got a flat tire on the front right side of his car. And he's like number 3 to go through his boot. So this guy, he figures out that he's got a flat tire. He gets out of the car, and you were talking about slamming. He starts booting the side of the car. Now, I don't think that's such a good thing to do, 3 cars away from going through a bunch of armed individuals that are watching for suspicious behavior. That's what my wife, Lynn, she said, whatever you do, just keep driving. If you get a flat tire, keep driving. So anyway, just be careful with what you do there. So what that demonstrates is that each one of us, and it's a bit of it's an exercise, but it's also a demonstration that each one of us looks at things differently. Some of us have to get that frustration out, and that's okay. Just depends on how you do it. All right, so that's the amygdala hijack. Every one of us in this room, we all have emotional triggers. It is scientifically evidence-based proven that every one of us in this room, including me, we have emotional triggers on different things. Now, I'm going to share a couple examples of emotional triggers. I'm not thrilled with the phrase cradle to grave. You've all heard that expression, cradle to grave. And the reason why is my lovely wife and I, we lost a child. He died when he was young. So when we hear that expression, when I hear that expression, that's a trigger for me. And it really it still bothers me. But what I've learned about emotional intelligence. And what I've done is I let people know, people that know me don't use that phrase because it just makes sense. But people that don't know me, it took me a long time to figure out, well, they don't know that we lost a child. So my emotional intelligence wasn't in check. So I was helping them out by saying, do you mind not using that phrase? I didn't have to tell them why, but when I did, they felt horrible. And I said, don't feel horrible. All I'm trying to do is be clear that that's a trigger for me. The other one that I don't like, and this is just a personal thing, when I'm adding something to a conversation, especially if it's problem solving or decision making, and I add a piece and somebody says, well, not only that. Because when I hear that, in my mind, and it's not a horrible thing, but it's just a trigger for me. And I've taken medication and gotten over it. But the reality is, what I find is that that's such a little thing, but it's a big thing for me. But I'm aware when somebody says that, something might happen. I might just say, well, you know what, maybe you could rephrase your response to me. So again, you have to match your emotional intelligence. You have to use your emotional intelligence. So what I'm going to ask you to do, this is an individual exercise. What I would ask you to do is just sit and reflect for a second, or write it down if you want. Ask yourself, what are my, if I have more than one, what is my emotional trigger? What is it that sets me off? So that's question number one, because this is about self-awareness. Because if you're not self-aware about your emotional intelligence and your emotions, you may continue to have issues with relationships. And I don't mean in a bad way, it's just that it can be a negative thing. So what are my emotional triggers? And then what is it that I might do to help myself get over that? Like, do I have to tell people about this, and what would I say? Am I just sort of holding it in? And policing is the old term, suck it up, buttercup. You saw something horrible, suck it up. Now there's lots of conversation about, let's take a look at what that means for your emotions. So everyone has emotional triggers, and this is really important. If you take anything away from today, you need to know and understand and appreciate that each one of us, we have emotional trigger or triggers. So what is my trigger? What are my triggers? And what would I do? How would I go about that? So just take a second just to reflect on that. And you don't need to share that with anyone. I'm sure some people sitting at your table know what your emotional triggers are. Okay, so that's your homework. That's the only bit of homework that I'm going to ask you to think about. What are your emotional triggers? All right, so take that away and do whatever you want. So come on back, and what I'd like to do is just move on. So, emotions. There's a range of emotions. Everybody knows Darth Vader. Hopefully everybody knows Darth Vader. So some people, their facial expression could be the same for every situation. Now this is all about you. This is not only your emotional intelligence, this is about good old-fashioned communication. There are some people that have a face, and we know who those people are. Don't look around at your table, but there are people that we know that have those faces. And sometimes you can be telling them the best story, the most interesting thing about you or what's going on, and they have one expression. There are a lot of senior executives that have that very serious, we're very happy you're here. You've done a really good job. With nothing, with no expression. And I'm not suggesting that you have to be like Jim Carrey and have an elastic face, but what I would suggest that you do is try to match your facial expression to what's going on. That's emotional intelligence. It's connected to your brain, your facial expression. Now the other thing I want you to do, and this is a little exercise I would invite you to do, have a look at those images, and I know some of you at the back, it might be a bit of a stretch. There's a whole bunch of different facial expressions there. A whole bunch of different facial expressions for a whole range of emotions, for a whole range of issues. So just have a look there, and just, if you can see them. I understand that hopefully the slide presentation hopefully is going to be loaded somewhere on your website that you can have a look at it at your leisure. But what I would encourage you to do is have a look at those and say, do I look like that? in a good way, or do I look at it like that in a good way or a bad way? So what I would encourage you to do is take a look at yourself in the mirror when you're having those difficult conversations. What expression do you use? So here's your next individual exercise. What I would like you to do is I'd like you to reflect on this question, and then what I'd like you to do is share with your table mates your best facial expression. Your best facial expression. So here's the question. Here's the question. You've already started. Here's the question. The question is, what excites me about being a member of Kin Canada? What excites me? Use your face to tell that story. What excites me about being a member of Kin Canada? Use your face. Oh, I see cameras. All right. I love it.
I'm so happy.
So what excites you about being a part of Kin Canada, being a member of Kin Canada?
I just love it now.
That would be nice.
Okay. Hopefully you had a chance to share your facial expression. Hopefully you had a chance to share that facial expression. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Come on back, folks. What I'm going to ask you to do is just think about that and reflect upon that. When you're working on behalf of Kin Canada, when you're in the organization, when you're doing stuff, what facial expression do people see? And some people say, well, I'm not going to change my facial expression. That's just who I am. And that's okay. But I just want you to think about being more aware of your facial expression when it comes to having those engagement opportunities or those conversations with your peers and colleagues from Kin Canada and out there when you're representing the organization. Your facial expression has a lot to do with it. Has a lot to your face says a lot. So I'll leave you to take a look at that at your leisure. So I'm going to leave you with a couple things. Hopefully these are the things that you'll take away. Emotional intelligence is not the opposite of intelligence, or is the triumph of heart over head. It's the unique intersection of both. So I'd like you to think about that. Now this was David Caruso, like the David Caruso, the actor. Not that great of an actor in my mind, but anyway, that's pretty good, I guess. But anyway, that was a beautiful quote, and it really summarized to me what it means, what emotional intelligence means, what it really means. So it's the unique intersection of both. So it's your head and your heart. And some people manage their emotions too much with their head, not enough with their heart, too much with their heart, not enough with their head. So it's that perfect blend of both. That's what emotional intelligence is. So I'm going to ask if you have any questions, because I have a demonstration, and I'm going to ask for a volunteer. Thank you very much for volunteering. I needed to find someone close to the stage wearing white, and I found it. So I'm going to ask you to come on up on the stage.
Just put your emotion on your face and let them know.
And Leanne. Come on up here. While Leanne's getting up there, I'm going to demonstrate emotional intelligence in a moment. But I'm going to ask, are there any questions? Does anyone have any questions? No? Good. Okay. Move on. No, does anyone have any questions about emotional intelligence? You're good? Okay. So I'm going to demonstrate why emotional intelligence is so important. What do I have here, Leanne?
Water.
I have a bottle of water. Okay, I'm going to come around this way. So, Leanne and I are having a conversation about something to do with Kin Canada. Things are going well or things aren't going so well. So we're happy or we're unhappy. So depending on the situation, Leanne and I are having this conversation, and Leanne's talking to me about what's going on with Kin Canada. And then I start to get a little emotionally charged. So if these are my emotions, and I'm shaking this up as you can see, now if I go to open that, what's going to happen?
What t-shirt?
I never thought of that. That's a great idea. But what's really going to happen if I...
Not much.
Not much? Okay, so if I open this up, okay, yeah, no water came out. So Leanne didn't get all wet nor did I, all right? So that's because this is water. However, I know some people like Pepsi, but it's okay. Can't we just get along? Coke or Pepsi? All right. So Leanne and I are having a conversation, and now it's starting to go to a next level. Like my emotions are really starting to go here. So what's happening here? What's happening to my emotions? They're bubbling up. They're bubbling up. Leanne's back up. We'll fall off the stage. Did you sign the waiver? No. Okay. All right. So these are my emotions, and poor Leanne is just, we're having a conversation. So if I just happen to uncork myself or unload, I won't do that, but if I did, what would happen to Leanne?
She's gonna get a whole bunch.
What would happen if Leanne was standing right here and I went like this and opened that up? It's going to go, yeah, she's going to fall backwards off stage. It's going to go over Leanne, around Leanne, it's going to go all over here. So the impact of not managing my emotions. So if I manage my emotions and I'm emotionally intelligent and I know what my triggers are, instead of shaking this, you're shaking this, this is okay. This is not good. This is why people leave organizations, because there's a lot of people, a lot of cokes out there, and they just bubble up, and then all of a sudden they just don't. And I'm not suggesting anybody here does that. I'm just saying that's what happens, is that people just unload on everyone, and it just gets messy. That's what happens. Absolutely. Leanne, beautiful. She doesn't hear a word I'm saying because she's focused on the reaction, like what's going to happen. So if you manage your emotions, you get to choose. Do you want to be water? Or do you want to be this stuff, Coke or Pepsi, or ginger ale, or whatever it is, okay? That's emotional intelligence. Somebody shared this demonstration with me, and I thought, oh, I get it, because that makes a lot of sense. So I asked myself, given the flat tire scenario, do I want to be calm and kind of, not over the top, or do I want to be real messy? Do you want it to be real messy? So, Leanne, thank you very much. Now, Leanne, because you're a good sport, I'm going to leave Leanne with a copy of this book. And I don't flog anybody's book. All I'm doing is just sharing a resource. So this book is called Flourish by Dr. Martin Siegelman, one of the brilliant minds on wellness and well-being and emotional intelligence. So that book is Flourish, so I hope you flourish and continue to do great work. So thank you. Thanks, So that is Emotional Intelligence 101. That's scratching the surface. And we've gone through this fairly fast. We've also covered a lot of ground. But what I encourage you to do, that's one thing I know about any topic or subject, is do a little bit of your own research and have a look at it. Do some work as an organization. I just hope that, that this has helped to understand a little bit more about emotional intelligence. So with that, I thank you very much.
Peter, on behalf of the delegates, I want to thank you for that fun and engaging presentation. It was really nice to have all that interaction. There's a couple of things that I picked up from your presentation, and early on, one of the things, or two of the things you said were lifelong learning and everyone is a leader. And I think that's a really important message, because while we do have many great leaders in here, there are still many other people in here that don't believe that they have that in them. And it was nice to hear, because everybody in here is a leader. They just need to allow themselves to become that leader. So that was really good. The other thing, and if you've ever been to one of our meetings where we're in heavy debate, you'll understand we get emotional intelligence because you talked about active listening and heart and head. And for us, that's one of the things. We often get so caught up in our own thoughts and our own message that we want to get out that we don't listen. We're not listening to understand, we're listening to have our own response. And so I thought it was really nice how you pulled all that in together, and I hope everybody in here got the message as well. So on behalf of the delegates, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
So we're just going to take a 15-20 minute break, wellness break, and then when we come back, we need to be back in the room on time. The credentials report is ready, and we'll go right into elections. So make sure you're back here at
4:50.
11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. Oh, I said it? Oh, my watch is off.
10:50.
10:50.
I'm not that